go in and bomb, which I can't see that being done by this administration, but if they go in, then we would want to do reparation and pay them for all the destruction we did.
That's a good point.
Pay them, because that's what we do every time, even if they're totally destructive, kill, steal, and destroy us. We'll want to pay them back for the damage we did.
Yep.
That's why we got to get the right people in position of power.
Well, it's just like Obama said, we can hold hands and sing Kumbaya. He said that the other day.
Yeah, let's hold hands and sing Ring Around the Rosie. It's just as effective.
Yeah. I'd like to hold hands with him and sing Ring Around something.
Well, this is a good place to take a break, so let's do that. We'll take a break, and we will be right back. We're going to be talking about headline news, and we'll be right back.
They are not good burgers. It's official, full description. In this issue, sordid detail, revelation, talk about a new sensation. Breaking news on every channel, words of wisdom from our panel. Hear the latest, how the Brandles suffer when we leak this scandal. Got a deadline, gonna need a headline, chasing after every small disaster. Just a sniff, a whiff of something touching. We're not called the hounds for nothing. Out of all this fine commotion, who emerges with promotion? We're the ones who smell of roses after what a piece exposes. I'll be moved to right time anchor. What a victory! What a way to make a living, telling stories. We're the ones who get the glory. Got a deadline, gonna need a headline, chasing after every small disaster. Just a sniff, a whiff of something touching. We're not called the hounds for nothing. Such a treat to get a whistleblower, but no one likes a tittle-tattle, this'll show her. Silly bitch, we'll take her to the cleaners. Teach her not to snitch on others, misdemeanors. Hold the front page, find a mugshot. It's an outrage. Well, if it's not, we'll make it up. The truth is boring, it'll be the truth by morning. If he scoffers like the last time, hide and seek's our favorite pastime. We will find him, classify him, in the end we'll crucify him. Got a deadline, gonna need a headline, chasing after every small disaster. Just a sniff, a whiff of something touching. We're not called the hounds for nothing.
Well, we are back. You can hear the archived version of Right Opinions at 10 o'clock p.m. until midnight Eastern Time on Thursday evenings. We broadcast live every Thursday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. right here on Spreaker. That's Eastern Time, so check your time zones. So welcome back to Right Opinions with our panel, Mona, Mary, Teresa, Rollin, and I'm Marcia. Now we're going to get into headlines across the world. And Teresa, let's start with you.
Okay, I want to start out. Did you know that Obama just took new executive action on immigration? It's kind of went unnoticed with everything that's happening in the news lately, but he has expanded and loosened the rules for a L-1B visa. And that visa allows multinational companies to bring in foreign workers to work and live in the United States. They can stay for 5 years. There are no wage standards, which means that the companies can bring their workers over here, but they can pay them, like for example, a tech over in the Middle East makes about $6,000 a year. That's what they can pay them here. There's no wage standards. There's no education requirements. And there is nothing to protect American workers from being displaced. And the assault on American workers just goes on and on and on by this administration. And I don't hear anyone speaking against it.
I think I read someplace where he actually was going to give incentives for people to hire these people in place of American workers.
Yes.
So that means that for a company to receive incentives, then they're going to have to fire an American worker to put in one of these foreign workers. You know, he's getting ready to bring in, I've forgotten how many thousands of Somalis here. Thousands of Somalis here. You know, I know what, and then I'll get into that when I want to, but I know it all ties into this mandatory voting thing he's trying to do.
Oh, you bet.
But,
they're all going to come over here and vote Democrat.
Well, yeah.
That's why he wants them.
Exactly, because that's why they want to get rid of voter ID. They're trying to make it mandatory voting in all the states, and therefore anybody that, like in Oregon, has a driver's license, and they don't turn down foreign invaders from having driver license because they say they need them to get to job to work. So therefore they will be automatically on the voting registration, and that therefore can vote. They're trying to get all the criminals to vote. You know, it's just all these gimmies are going to be allowed to vote, and all of those, no, take it from me anymore, are going to be outnumbered.
Yep. Although people are waking up a little bit. The Congressman, Luis Gutierrez, was speaking at the University of California, and he announced that he was going to be speaking in Spanish, because it was to a Hispanic group. And their reply, the protesters shouted, we speak more English than we do Spanish, and this is the United States, speak English. Well, he did it in Spanish anyway, and he kept getting heckled and chanted, chants of USA, USA, and he finally exited the room and left.
Yay!
Patriots that stood up and made their voices heard.
Yes.
Well, if you go down to Mexico, and I used to go down to Mexico quite a lot. That's where my sister was when she died. I used to go down there quite a lot, and there's a lot more English-speaking Mexicans than there are Spanish-speaking Americans. You know what I mean? They come up here and they're taught English. Our students, we don't insist that they speak the English that they know. That's another thing.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to go to town and I'd like to hear English being spoken everywhere. But I go to town and I hear Spanish and I hear German because we have a German air base where I live. So we go to town and it sounds like the UN here. It really does. I mean, we even have had Japanese here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have Chinese and Russians here. But, this is America. I'm glad those Americans stood up and said so.
Do you remember that old Seinfeld show where Ellen was going to the beauty parlor and they were all speaking and laughing and they were talking Korean and she couldn't understand them? And they were making fun of her?
Well, that's usually what people think is happening.
I know it.
Yeah, Mary, what do you think?
I think about this is I'd like to be able to dial a phone that didn't say press 1 for English.
Amen.
That's the truth.
We are a melting pot. I agree with that. But every country in the world, if you visit them, they are required in school to learn 2 languages, their own, and English is almost every time their second language they have to learn. We're the only country in the world that lets you choose whether you're at a second, and then we let them choose whether they speak to us in English or not.
Yeah. And while we're bringing that up, do you know how many times they have tried to make English language the primo number one language in this country, and it's shot down every time?
Yes.
That makes no sense.
Oh, no, of course not.
When other countries around the world make it a priority to learn English, if you really look at it, there's more countries around the world that speak English than we exist in our own nation.
Yes.
Okay, Roland, what's your beef?
Well, I'll make a comment about that.
Okay.
I think one of the problems we have is that people come to our country, and no matter what kind, then they congregate together. They have their own churches. They live in their own communities, and they don't melt into our society. And I think some of the most beautiful things I've heard is a black man saying, "I'm not an African American, I'm an American." And that's the attitude we've got to have throughout our country, is that if you come and live here, we've got a wonderful country, we've got a lot of faults, we're going to fix them, but we've got to be Americans and forget about all this other stuff that is going on. I have a headline that is a headline for Restore America Together headline that we had last week. And it's something that illustrates that if we work together as a team and really get behind something, that we can do something about it. And we had some people that said, "Oh, you can't do it." But we decided that there was a group called G.D. Palin with sexual pictures and calling her everything from up to a whore, and we didn't think it was right. And what did we do? And when I say we, the people right here on this group are the people that took the lead, and we started asking our members to write to Facebook to stop it. Well, first things you read on the post, well, they're not going to do that. It's not going to work. Even we got replies back from Facebook in the beginning that we don't see anything wrong with that. They have the right to have their opinion. Well, there were so many of us that reported it and said that it wasn't right, that Facebook decided, well, maybe they're right. So they took that group and knocked it off of their Facebook group. And the point I'm trying to get across to all our listeners is that the Democrats do it better than we do. They stick together. With the first thing that happens, which I'm going to talk about later, that somebody decides they're going to run for president. Well, the first thing they want to say, "I ain't voting for him." Well, give it a time. Let's wait and hear what everybody's got to say. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. But I am so proud of our members, Marcia, that they stuck together on this one, and we got something accomplished. And it ought to prove to us that if we work together, stick together, that we will achieve our goals and restore our country.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up about Facebook, because I sent in my complaint about that, and then they wrote back and said that they didn't think it violated their rules, and then there was a place for a comment, and I wrote back and I said, "Your standards aren't very high." So then I got another notice from them, and they said they had gone back and re-examined it, and they found that it had violated their rules, and so they had removed the page. And I tell you what, I was so pleased, because sometimes you can get more with honey than you can with vinegar. And so I thought, instead of screaming at them or writing anything ugly, I just said, "Your standards aren't very high." And then I get this message that they had taken Sarah Palin's ugly ugly sight down, and I'm so pleased. I was really pleased.